This is the Path Forward podcast, and I'm your host, Augie, and I'm going to start today's episode with introducing you to our mascot. This is Nunzio. Nunzio has been with us for about 22 months. He's going to celebrate his second birthday next week. He's a bull mastiff, and he is something special. The one thing I could say about him is every day he brings joy into my life. And he is incredibly loyal, and it makes some of the tougher days very easy to deal with. So he's our mascot because I think we should have one, and he's interested in reentry because, well, that's what we do and that's what we talk about. And I know that maybe somebody that's got connections to Hollywood or something can let somebody know to look at this episode so that maybe we can get him a part in Turner and Hooch 2 or some such thing. But he's a good boy. He is very affectionate. He's about 160 pounds, and he's still growing. He loves to touch people, to sit close to them, to be close to them, but he's always looking outward so that, like he's protecting if somebody comes walking in or somebody tries to approach us. But he's a good boy, and he will be our mascot. And feel free to write your letters to Nunzio, Nunzio, and know that you will see him as he continues to grow and as we continue to do these podcasts. I'll start by talking about the podcast. We started the podcast in January 2024. And so we're now in June of 2025. So we've been doing it almost a year and a half. We do a new episode every 2 weeks. I had a mission that I wanted to achieve in doing this podcast. And I hope that in your life, in your existence, that it contributes something positive. And that's what I wanted to do. So while I was away, I was gone from 2005 to 2017, and then from 17 to 18, halfway house and home confinement. But while I was away, we didn't have tablets in those days. We didn't have the ability to see this type of current information being brought to us. And so my overriding mission with this is to bring hope and inspiration. Because if you're sitting in a jail or a prison right now, I can assure you that you're surrounded by people that won't hesitate to tell you what you can't do, how you won't be able to succeed, how things will never work out because you've been locked up. And I'm here to tell you it's just not true. If you watch the podcast, you know that, my role in the podcast is to say as little as possible. What I try to do is ask some questions to provoke the individual to share what's going on in their life and how it might be meaningful to you. And then at the end, I always reserve 3 or 4 minutes and ask them to look into the camera and just share their thoughts to bring encouragement to those of you on the inside. We're going to continue to do that. I have a whole list of guests that I'm working with our team to get booked so that we can bring them in here. There's some that I think if we can get them, it'll be just unbelievable. But the other thing that I want to start to do more of is I want to bring more resources into our podcast. So if you look back, I believe it's episode 9, it was 2 parts. I went into the Chicago City Colleges and worked with the dean of the Advanced Manufacturing Center in Daly College. And I thought it was a terrific episode. And if we look at the number of views it gets, it was a terrific episode because it's certainly one of the more popular ones. I want to do more of that. I want to bring employers in. I want to bring in different associations that are committed to working with people that are formerly incarcerated. I want to bring in people from workforce development that they can share some great information. And so we're going to continue to bring on a regular basis men and women who have been incarcerated and have gotten out and moved on with their life. But I also want to be bringing more resources in and to share with you what's available and what they're looking for when they look to hire somebody or to enroll somebody in a training program or an educational program or any of those types of things. I want to bring in somebody that can talk real information about finding housing because that is a challenge. It's a challenge for many Americans to find affordable housing, but make no mistake, if we've got a background, it becomes considerably more challenging. So I want to bring somebody that's kind of an expert in the field of that, working with the incarcerated population to find housing. And I want to share that type of information with you. So if you're enjoying this, that's great. We get letters every week. I get a stack of letters like that, and we try to respond to all of them as quickly as we can. Um, but, really, I would also ask you to help to promote this, especially when you get new people that come into your housing unit and they're going through those dark days like we all go through, and maybe to be able to watch an episode and listen to somebody who had a similar experience with them and going through the judicial process, but then is also sharing with them, how they've come out the other side and they've gotten on with their lives. So I'd like to talk to you about the Second Opportunity Program, and that's really, kind of the driving force behind all of this. Second Opportunity Program is actually something that I started to work on while I was incarcerated. And my job, I was in the Fed system, so my job was to work in education and to teach courses to fellow inmates. And I did that the whole time, and I found out I really enjoyed it. But I started to work on a reentry program as I started thinking about my own reentry and the challenges that I would face. And the other part of that is, and if you're incarcerated, you've already seen it. There are people that leave, and nobody ever leaves wanting to come back. We ever leave saying, can't wait to come back. We always leave. I mean, I think the one thing we all have in common is we say the same thing at some point. This is no way to live my life. I'm never going to do this again. I don't want to put my family through this. I don't want to put myself through this. Yet and still, people go out and they get jammed up on something and end up coming back. And what I observed while I was away is that the stories were the same. Didn't matter, young, old, none of that made a difference. What I saw was the stories were that they had an unresolved substance misuse issue that they got back into upon release, that they had perhaps limited education because they either dropped out or were expelled from high school. They were doing something that to generate large amounts of money, and they figured they didn't need school anyway. They had limited real life work experience, and they didn't have a skill set that was relevant in today's world, or they just didn't have a network of people that they could surround themselves with that were supportive, that were trying to live their life the right way, that were committed to doing certain things and avoiding other things. And so I found those to be the main reason that people would end up coming back. And I built a program called the Second Opportunity Program around that. And so what we've done is, if you're watching this right now, you have a tablet. And if you're watching this on your tablet, somewhere in your tablet is something we call the sampler platter, the Second Opportunity sampler platter. And it's 5 courses that we actually, the program is comprised of. It's 5 courses: employment readiness, financial literacy, life skills, barriers to reentry, and career pathways. And those are the topics that we cover in great detail. And I took one section of each of the 5 courses in both English and Spanish, and we made it available on tablets all around the country. And to be clear, the podcast and the sampler platter we give away absolutely free. We tell any tablet company they can have it. We'll send them a new episode every 2 weeks. All we ask is that they make it available. And so if you're watching this, that's probably what happened and how we got in front of you. If you haven't seen the sampler platter, I would encourage you to do so, because I think that it gives you an idea of the type of things that we talk about and the way that we deliver the information to you. And then we have the full program, and that's how we make our living, is that I spend, without exaggeration, I work on it some part of every day of the week. I go to conferences and I speak to departments of correction, sheriff's offices, probation, about this program that has become really popular, and it seems to be positively impacting a lot of people. So the program is a lot of material, a lot of information, tools, knowledge, resources that we try to bring to the incarcerated or the formerly incarcerated population. And so hopefully, whatever facility you're in, at some point, all they have to do is contact the tablet company and say that they want to bring this in. The tablet company will contact me. I'll reach out to them, or they can reach out to me directly, and we'll work it out so that we can bring it into that facility. And it comes with workbooks that become a personal reentry plan. So it's something you walk out of there with, where you've kind of laid out what it is your journey is going to look like and what some of the challenges are going to be. So that's what we do. And I want to just spend a few minutes talking about reentry itself. So what is reentry? Reentry is really about changing from an incarcerated situation into free society. And oftentimes, depending on your circumstance and the facilities that you're in, there's a process that we go through, that, a residential reentry center, a halfway house. And so we go through that process, giving us a chance to kind of slow walk into society. And for those that have been away for a long time, and in my situation, 13 years was plenty long enough for me. I don't know how much more I had to give, to be honest with you, but I know some of you that are watching this are gonna say, I've already done 13, I've got another 20 to do, or whatever it might be. And some of you are gonna sit there and say, 13, I don't know how I could have done that. I have 2 years and I'm struggling. And we seem to be able to find on the inside a way to get through this. Um, but I will say that when I got out, I'd never seen a smartphone. My skills were not current. The career I was in before, I couldn't go back to. And so I was going to be reinventing myself at age 57. And I knew that I had physical limitations because I've gotten older. I'm certainly not going to jump into a field like carpentry or those types of things, because at my age, it's not a long-term solution. And so when we talk about going through the reentry process, there's a lot of components in it. And I am blessed. I speak regularly at different conferences, and I speak about incarceration. I speak about reentry. I speak with employers all the time. I speak with workforce about the value of hiring people that have been incarcerated, and what we can bring in that provides value to the employer. And as I, have the opportunity to do that, I share the thoughts. And one of the things that I talk about is it takes more than a job. The truth is, some of us, when we get out, we're not ready for a job. If we're a person that has some behavioral health issues, whether it's some mental health issues that we're dealing with, because make no mistake, being incarcerated creates trauma. It's irrefutable, and it's one of the leading causes outside of active military combat of PTSD. And so to think that I'm going to walk out and everything is going to be the way it was before and I'm going to be fine, it's probably not going to be that way. There's probably going to be some challenges, some things that we've got to deal with. Some are things that are a positive surprise, and some are things that are a negative one. But anyway, I think that as we prepare for leaving incarceration, um, I think the more we can do on the inside to keep our mind engaged, the better off we're going to be. So jail and prison, by its own nature, is a dangerous place. And so we sleep with one eye open. We keep our boots right next to the bed. Those are the type of things that, as far as the physical danger, that a fight can break out and things can turn upside down in a blink of an eye, right? But I really think that the real danger to us is that we become mentally disengaged. We just stop caring about anything, and we're willing to walk out the door and let life hand us whatever it's going to hand us. And in my experience, working with literally thousands of people now, thousands and thousands of people, in my experience, that's probably a risky game to play. I think that we should walk out the door with a plan. I think we should know what we want to do. We should have a backup plan if it doesn't work out, maybe even a plan C. But there's so many things we can control that it's hard for us, I believe, to get our mind around it when you're sitting in a place where you don't control anything, or you control very few things. If you're incarcerated right now, you're wearing clothes that you didn't pick and don't want to wear. You're eating food that you didn't pick and possibly don't want to eat. You're living in a cell with somebody that maybe you do or don't get along with. And but there are so many things that we can control when we get out, but we've got to be prepared to move down that path. So I talk about they have all these wonderful training programs, and I'll get into detail on that in just a minute or two. But if I sign up for a training program to become a welder, and that's one I like to talk about because there's such high demand for welders today. They're well paid. You get out and get a job as a welder, you go any place in the country, there's work for you, period. And so if I enroll in this program and it's paid for by the Department of Labor, if I enroll in this program, I now control the outcome. I need to show up every day. I need to do what they teach me. I need to practice when I have time to practice. I need to go through the book if there's a book that goes along with it. I need to ask for help if I need some tutoring in certain things, but I control all of that. And then I'm a welder. And now I control getting a job, and there's a job waiting for me. Absolutely. If you watch that episode 9, there's a waiting list of employers at these community college welding programs for people when they graduate. They've got a waiting list that goes a year into the future. They're already hiring people, or they've got a spot for people that aren't going to get their welding certificate. They haven't even enrolled in the program yet. They don't even have a name to put on it, but they're ready to hire them. So I think we need to look at what we can control, and we absolutely can prepare for that on the inside. There are things that we can do on the inside. We can, there's hard skills and soft skills. So hard skills are things like welding, or if you're in a DOC and you have a chance to get into the HVAC program. I have a former cellmate that I speak with regularly. He's a terrific kid. He did about 10 years. He got out. He now does HVAC. He's a professional in HVAC. He got all those skills while he was locked up. He worked in the HVAC department, and he's making, I don't know what it is. It's $35 an hour. He's got custody back of his son, bought a home. Um, so I mean, he controlled what he could control. And so if you're in a DOC and you have a chance to get those type of hard skills, I really encourage you to do so, because they do have merit. The other side is the soft skills, and there are things we can work on soft skill wise. So soft skills are things like being able to effectively communicate, um, kind of cleaning up our language before we leave, because it's not probably not appropriate to bring into a business environment if if we speak in a way that degrades people that are around us or offends people that are around us. Um, I had one guy that was telling me that he's learning. I was going in there every week teaching the program, and he told me he was learning 3 new words a day. And a couple of months later, he came up to me and he said, "Hey, I called home last night, and my wife said, 'How did you get so smart?'" And so those are things that we can work on. We can work on conflict resolution. We can work on anger management. We can work on time management. We can be the person that when somebody new comes into the facility or into the pod, that we walk up and shake their hand and just kind of reassure that, here's the way things work around here. Because if you stop and think about that from the side of an employer, if the employer understands that that's the type of person you are, you have real value to the company. Because companies today are all about teamwork. It's not about one person sitting at a desk left alone to do a project. It's teamwork. And so if we can demonstrate that, it's a good thing. So anyway, um, we talk about reentry. There's some things that I'd like to share. First, the negative. And it's affected me, and I think it's affected most people. Um, Clearly, when I went away, I hurt my family, I hurt others, and they were disappointed in me, and all these things, and that's reality. But one of the negative things that I've encountered that I think we all do at some point when we get out is that there are people that don't find it in their heart to forgive us and let us move forward, and let things heal. And so there may be some negative type surprises that we face when we get out, and I think that we need to be mentally prepared for that. That not everybody that we were close with before we went away are we going to be close with when we get out. And it hurts. Make no mistake, it hurts. But it's also something that we just have to be able to deal with and move on. Um, From the positive side, there are so many opportunities out there for so many different things. There's so many resources. So I want to talk about some of the opportunities. I already mentioned things like getting into training programs, educational programs, but I also want to talk about the support that's out there. I didn't know about any of these things while I was locked up. One of the main reasons that I created the Second Opportunity Program is to make people aware that there are these types of programs out there that are fully funded. So I can get my CDL and I can get it through a government sponsored and paid for program. And if that's what my interest is, then again, I can control that. Show up every day, do the work, learn what to do, and then get a job doing that. But there's other types of support available too. There's support with people that are formerly incarcerated, and we've got, jokingly call it the secret handshake. So we've all gone through something similar, and some that have already left have experienced the bumps in the road that those that are leaving are going to encounter. So to be associated with a positive minded group that will share some of those challenges that they faced and were able to, and how they were able to overcome them. And we deal with some of that on the podcast, but certainly it's more effective to sit down one-on-one and have a conversation with somebody who's gone through it. So there's those type of resources available. There's support out there for um, things that we need, like clothing and hygiene when we first get out, and hygiene products and that type of thing. There's different ways. I know that one of the movements right now in helping those that are releasing with respect to transportation, which can be a challenge, especially if somebody owes thousands of dollars of fines on to get their driver's license back. And even if they get it back, they don't have a car to drive. But there's programs out there that provide bicycles as a means of transportation. Maybe it's not ideal, but probably beats walking. I know there's a lot of programs that they offer and provide bus passes, train passes, those type of transportation, so that people can get back on their feet and then as they start to get paychecks, resolve the situation in order to get driving again or whatever it might be. The resources that are available, it's not just government resources, but there are many government resources available for reentry. Reentry is a hot topic now. When I got out, it wasn't like this, and that's about 7.5 years ago, almost 8 years ago. But when I went in, resources for reentry were, I don't want to say non-existent, but they certainly weren't a major conversation. We have things today called fair chance employers. And I joke and say that when I went away, the number of fair chance employers you could fit on an index card if you wrote their names down. Today, you've got hundreds and hundreds of them all around the country. And these are organizations, good companies that have made a commitment to hire people that have a felony conviction in their background. So if you're sitting in a cell right now thinking nobody's going to hire me, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to skills and desire. And so, I will tell you that if there's anything that I have, and I believe I got it from my parents, that's allowed me to kind of get back on my feet. I'm not there. I mean, I'll get there, I think, but I'm certainly further along in my life than I thought I would be at this point. I never imagined that I would own a company again. I never imagined I'd get on an airplane. Never imagined I'd own a home again. So these things happen, but I came out with an edge, and most of the successful formerly incarcerated people, same thing. I mean, I show up earlier, I stay later, I work harder. I see this as my way of survival, because I do believe this, that the you know we can get that second chance, but after that, I think people are exhausted about continuing to provide chances. So I see myself as walking around with two strikes. I need to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do. I need to be passionate about working, passionate about doing the right thing, passionate about my family and those types of things. And things seem to have worked out for me. And again, I'm just one person, but I will tell you that I'm around currently and formerly incarcerated people every day. I have a network of, I don't know how many, hundreds and hundreds of people that I talk to that have been incarcerated. and we go through struggles. We're able to share different struggles and different things that we're dealing with. So I want to kind of wrap this up and just say that I hope you enjoy the podcast. I hope you see value in it. I hope that it allows you to get away from the typical negative mindset of incarceration and to think more along the lines of that there's a path out there for you. And whatever we can do on the inside to prepare for that path is worthwhile. It's worth spending our time doing that instead of just sitting in the TV room or playing dominoes and cards. There's time to do all that stuff, but we should be spending a decent amount of time every day on self-improvement and know what we want to do and get ourselves in a position where we control the outcome. And I believe that can happen. So I'll just leave you with this. I just want to tell you that based on my experience, the number one rule of reentry is that we have to be able to humble ourselves and ask for help, because reentry is not something that I would encourage anybody to do alone or to think that they're going to do it alone. I think reentry is about going to the places that we know will embrace us despite our conviction and will help us because they have the lived experience of the type of help that we actually need. So thank you for tuning in and listening to me for the last 25 minutes. I'm going to close this up. I think Nunzio wants to say goodbye. But we're the Path Forward Podcast. New episode every 2 weeks. Hope you enjoy it. If you've got something you want to say, please feel free to write to us. And I wish you the very best. So Nunzio and I want to thank you for joining us for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some of the things I said had some value to you. And we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in to the Path Forward Podcast. And this is Augie and Nunzio, and we will see you again next time, I hope. Have a great day.